you kind of started out in fashion, and then I know you started to do some work with some other brands, as in like working with getting the right people for the right campaign.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't talk about the whys and who.
Yeah.
But say if I was sat in front of you now and I was like, I want to become an influencer.
Yeah.
What do brands look for in their
think
influencers?
It varies really. So I think I work more in influencer marketing now.
So what's that for the people that don't have a clue?
So I was
Like
saying
me.
this, yeah. So I think because the likes of my nan like doesn't have a clue. Like if you say influence marketing, she's like, what? So how I kind of explain it to people, I think this is the best way to explain it, is you're essentially a bit of a casting director, but for different brands and clients. So obviously, like depending if you're working in-house or at an agency, that brand's going to have a brief and a particular campaign that they want to get talent for and create content for. So yeah, so sometimes you'll be looking at like brand channel pieces of content, which is content that's only going to feature on that brand's channel. And then you'll also kind of like do maybe like a hashtag campaign or things like that, where you're working with the influencers for them to post pieces on their own content. So you can have like nano influencers, micro influencers, macro influencers.
And this is what I wanted to go into, because we've had I find all this stuff so interesting because I always find it on a deeper meaning. I really find it interesting how as a society we kind of make people gods almost, like these influencers and different levels. I did not realise there was different levels of influencing. So just if you were to tell me, as you have done in the past, what is a micro influencer, and then the stages of that?
I guess like from a brand perspective, if you were using a micro influencer for a campaign, you're probably working with that person. Obviously, they've not got a huge following. So you'd be working with them more because you know they're going to create a really good piece of content. And I think particularly when you're starting out as an influencer as well, they're obviously super keen to, you know,
I can imagine,
to get their presence out there and to create really good quality
content. It's like a win-win for both.
Yeah. And I think obviously quality, like that applies to macro influencers as well. You still want quality kind of output, but you're also, when you're working with macro influencers, so they're influencers that would have a larger following than a micro influencer. Sorry, I've probably not explained that the best.
No, it's okay.
But you'd be working with them for their engagement as well, and how many followers they have, how many views you think the content's going to get. So yeah, that's the difference. I hope I've explained that.
No, you've explained that well, don't worry at all. So we've kind of spoken about how you got into fashion, how you've kind of slightly moved out of fashion now. What would you like to do in the future then? Do you think you could see yourself going back into fashion? Like, what would be your dream future?
I'm really happy with what I'm doing right now. I think it's probably the happiest I've ever been in a job.
I can say, as your friend, I can
see it.
Vouch for that.
And I think it's because, do you know what? It sounds cringe and it sounds cliche, but I think ultimately, like, you know, when people ask you, also take a shot every time I say like, I am really bad at doing
every time
that.
You say like, and every time I go,
I think just to be happy. And I think there's a lot to be said with who you work with as well. I think that's like super important. And obviously you want to progress in your career and you want to continue to better yourself and learn more, like that's a massive thing. But ultimately, I think I've found as well, kind of places I've worked, happiness is the most important thing.
That's what I was going to ask you, because obviously we've kind of said that fashion is so fast-paced, and I remember the hours you used to put in and stuff like that. Would you say now you're kind of less hungry for that climbing the ladder and working high fashion to have a better work-life balance?
I think that's super important. I wouldn't say like, I think for me, I'd always rather be a nice person and get on with everyone. That's kind of like my main thing. Obviously you want to do well, and I still always try my best. But I think, as you get older, you kind of think, hang on, what's that phrase again? Again, me with phrases, but it's kind of, you don't live
to work. Work to live.
Work to live. Yeah, I think that's the right way around.
I think.
Yeah. I think that's like, again, sounds cliche, but that's so true. And I think as you get older, you realise that like you shouldn't have to sell your soul. That sounds dramatic. You're obviously not doing that. But
what kind of toll, obviously, if you feel comfortable enough with discussing, would you say working in that kind of stressful, fast-paced had on like your mental health? Because I know I would crumble. I have a very lovely work-life balance. And obviously every self-employed person has a level of stress, but I could not cope in some of the scenarios that you've kind of been put in.
Oh, well, thanks. That makes me sound a lot more impressive than what
you
I
are
am.
very impressive.
Stop. But I think having a thick skin is good. And I think someone said to me once, one of my old managers, is it's never personal. And, you know, it's easier said than done. Like, obviously, if you get told...
It's just business, honey.
It's just business, honey. It's just the way it works. You get, told that, and you're like, okay, yeah, but it is true. And I do think that a lot more now, again, as I've got older. It's one of those things, like, really don't take it to heart. And Ellie knows this already, but I am a super anxious person. I think I mentioned it previously. And I think working in fashion, I've always forced myself. And like you've said before, you kind of, and in the famous words of Rihanna, you got to fake it till you make it. And it's so true.
Rihanna.
Yeah, I love Rihanna. She's great. But I don't know if I've told you this story actually, and it broke my heart, but previously in somewhere I used to work, there was an intern and he was super shy, super nervous, and like wouldn't come up to our floor because he just felt too nervous, and I think he was intimidated. And I just thought, oh, bless him. And we tried to include him and be like, like come and have lunch with us and all this, and he was just so nervous, bless him, and super anxious. And he left on his last day without saying bye to anyone, without asking for people's emails, nothing like that. And he's left, obviously. He was a lovely lad, but he didn't kind of make an effort to go out of his way and force himself into like, can I help you with that? Be super proactive. And then we had another intern, and she was amazing. Like, got to know everyone on a personal level. Anything big or small she would do, like no questions asked, and really put herself out there. I think you have to do that, and it might sound harsh.
Even if it feels unnatural.
Even if it feels unnatural.
Because as confident as I am, I would probably be like the young lad that you had as an intern.
Yeah.
Because I would find it real, as confident as I am.
Yeah.
I'd really struggle. I wouldn't be asking for people's emails.
No. Yeah.
I'd probably say bye. But I wouldn't be asking for people's emails. I guess you've got to have your brain wired a little bit differently in that world. Like, you've got to think of yourself.
And make sure, like, you're leaving a lasting impression as well. Like, I know when I interned, I think I got even just something as small, because obviously, like I said, I wasn't getting paid. So I'd leave, like, a nice card, or just be like, thanks, everyone, send a nice email around. Here's my email if you want to contact me. Like, I think it's just leaving a good lasting impression at places you work as well is really important. But yeah, I think it's taken a lot to kind of put my anxiety to one side. But as my dad's always said to me, if you don't ask, you don't get. Mm-hmm. So you've kind of just got to do it. And then...
How do you kind of big yourself up to ask in them situations? Because obviously with your internship, that took a lot of guts. Like, and obviously we joked about how you'll be drinking your water like this afterwards.
That'll be me now, picking up my water to have a quick drink.
But just while you're having a quick drink, how would you say that? I feel like down in this so that you're ready in time. What was I saying then? Oh yeah, like how do you kind of, do you have to psych yourself up? Like, I would really struggle to just go up to I'd want to, like I'd have the want to, I'm gonna go up and ask this person, like, look, can I have an opportunity here? Can you give me a chance? Like, what do you kind of tell yourself before you're doing that? And how do you think are you expecting rejection? How do you think you'd react if you got rejected?
Yeah. I think you've got to just remember that we're all human at the end of the day. And I know bringing up my mum and dad loads here, but that's all the ways what they've instilled in me. We're all the same. We're all human at the end of the day. And people that you're reaching out to for those opportunities, they've been in the same place as you have. So, yeah, don't build them up to be this kind of untouchable person.
On a pedestal.
Yeah, just always be polite and nice and kind. And like I've mentioned to you previously, Al, I feel like with the fashion industry in particular, LinkedIn is a massive thing. And that's,
oh, really?
I think if you do struggle to speak to people like one-on-one and in person, I love LinkedIn because all the roles I've ever applied for, it makes me sound like a keyboard warrior. But I found them on LinkedIn, not stalker, the person that I'd be reporting to for that role, and just reached out to them directly, like really nice, polite. I'd love to send you over my CV and kind of like a portfolio. And I've never once not at least got an interview off the back of that. And I think it is just making yourself, don't be one of the 400 applicants on LinkedIn, because that's...
Yeah, because I remember you saying that you reached out to people who had like, how many followers? Or was it something like that? And you've managed to just reach out and you've got a response.
Yeah, so there was a brand I used to work for back in the day, and their founder had like a really big social media presence. She was really cool, almost a bit of a celeb, to be fair. And she had nothing to do with the business anymore, but I knew she founded it. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to message her. And I was really nervous. I got an interview at this place that I wanted the job. I was really nervous and just dropped her a message and was like, hey, like, it makes me, you know that thing, sorry, I'm just hearing myself say this. You know on TikTok, that trend at the minute where it's like...
Oh, I deleted TikTok because I was...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was like my big New Year's resolution. So I'm better than everybody now.
She's better than everyone
That's
now.
how I feel. Every time someone says the TikTok, I'm like, what? Can't relate.
I'm still in the TikTok black hole.
I'm reading books.
Bettering myself.
Yeah.
I'm still very much on TikTok. And I said it like that. But there's a trend at the moment, and it's people like, yeah, I'm fine, babe. It's just how you wish Ronaldo good luck for the match on your Instagram DMs. I feel like that's me.
I've seen that where someone says, like, when you're worried your boyfriend's messaging other girls, but you actually see that he's wished Ronaldo good luck before a game.
That's it. You said it a lot better than me. That's what I said.
But I don't know how I know that because I'm not on TikTok. I just wait
know all the
till
trends.
6 months later and they're on Instagram.
Reels, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I messaged this woman, and I think she had like over 600k followers on Instagram. She saw my message and was like, yeah, here are some tips and tricks. Like, this is what you should go in with. Best of luck. She didn't need to message me back. This is another thing. Like, she's obviously a big deal, and it was super nice. And I was absolutely buzzing. I couldn't believe that she messaged back. I was like, thanks so much. And then I got the job and told her. And I was like, because that really gave me the confidence boost I needed to be like, do you know what? I've got this. Like, you just got to go with it, haven't you?
And I do think it is like fake it till you make it. Like,
yeah.
Confidence is key in everything.
Yeah,
and on that note, what I'm starting to do at the end of each podcast is ask people, what is the best piece of advice you've been given and why?
I think, again, going back to probably what my dad told me, if you don't ask, you don't get. You know, just go for it. You're never going to regret asking for an opportunity, but you will regret not asking for it when you had the chance.
That is so true.
So
because again, people do always say, don't they, what's the worst they can say?
Yeah.
And I guess not everybody likes being told no, but it's an answer. That's literally all it is at the end of the day.
And I think another thing as well, just always be nice, kind to people, always be polite, and be proactive as well. So if someone's wanting to get an internship, make sure you're asking people if they want a coffee, or like, I'm going out to grab lunch. Do you guys want anything? Just little things.
Like going that extra step.
Yeah, going that extra mile. But yeah, just always be nice and kind to people. And I think you can never go wrong with that. People love that.
Very true. Well, thank you so much. Not as bad as you thought, is it?
I know, yeah, I think I stopped shaking.
I know, bless. I was looking at you at one part and I could just see your hands like this, and I was like, I wanted to reach out to you. But no, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
As always, guys, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to talk about, feel free to message me on Instagram at EllieishPT.